2. Hopefully we will get Karen back on. I was having a little problem with my feedback then, so it was sounding utterly terrible, and I don't know who else could hear it, but I could, and it was extremely off-putting hearing my own voice. It's like amazing how annoying I am. I'm sure everyone else feels that all the time. I'm really sorry. Hopefully the people that were on will come back. Hopefully, and we'll get Karen back on in a sec. Fingers crossed. So I just did a little intro in the last video. I should repeat because this one I'll save. That one I did not save because it was terrible. So Karen is a canine masseuse. Here she is. Yes. Hopefully this will work much smoother. We've got it. Amazing.
Got all this technology down now. It's easy. Once you've done it. She says. Hey.
There.
I can still hear myself, but I'll just roll with it.
Well, yeah.
See you.
I can.
Don't know where to point the camera so I can see you, do I?
Well,
Need to turn it around.
hold on a second. Sometimes you just think, would it be better to just? This is my husband, by the way.
Hello.
Would it be better to just
Welcome.
do this yourself?
You can't have a
You-
camera.
I think we've got like the whole family today.
We're done. We're done. We're in.
We're in. No, now you've got your finger over
What can
it.
possibly go wrong? There we go.
Yay!
Right. We're off.
Yay, I don't pay for my cameraman services. You'll be glad to know.
I wouldn't.
So, hi.
Hi. How's it going?
It's good.
You're twisted actually now. So can you put the camera? Yes, perfect like that. Exactly. That's perfect.
Is that?
That is perfect. Okay, so do you want to just introduce yourself again, as we discarded the last video?
Yeah, I'm Karen Young. I own Safe Hands Clinical Canine Massage, and this is my old rescue dog, Eva, who was the inspiration for my business and for all my training. So,
Amazing. So we're going to talk about all of that in succession. So we'll start just by, I just wanted to explain to everyone, what is a canine masseur?
okay, I like to call it a massage therapist rather than a masseuse because people
Okay.
get the wrong idea when you say masseuse. So it's a soft tissue therapy. It works on all of the soft tissues of the body, which is the majority of the body weight of a dog. So Eva's part greyhound, and that will be about half of her body weight will be her muscles. So I work with her muscles and all of the connective tissues that allow her to move. And by doing that, I allow her joints and her balance and her mobility to be enhanced. So she's much happier in herself and in the way she moves because I treat her on a regular basis. And all my clients get the same benefit, really, although perhaps not as often as little Eva.
Yeah. They don't get the daily massage or the therapy.
Yeah, daily, she wouldn't allow me to do daily. She gets a weekly treatment.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she does all right out of it, really. If you look at her face, she's telling you it's a hard life being in our house. You can see she looks very sad.
Oh,
This is her natural look, though. She isn't really sad, just the way she is.
she's just relaxed. Bless her. Okay, so how did you get involved? I know she was a lot to do with it, but how did you actually make that connection with your industry?
So you're going to roll over now, aren't you, and show everyone your back. I adopted her 6 years ago, having having left my corporate job and kind of in between, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I adopted her to get me out of a hole, and she helped my recovery, but she also came with a lot of issues. She'd been in rescue for about a year when I adopted her, and she'd always been at the back of her kennels and was frightened of pretty much the world. So when I actually took her home, every part of her was tense. She felt like, if you can imagine a bodybuilder would feel when they tense all their muscles, all that ripped feeling, which isn't actually a natural state for muscles to be in, but she was
Not at all.
no, it's not at all. But she was that tight, that's what she felt like. Now she feels all soft and squishy. But for 6 months, I was just gently trying to make her feel more comfortable with touch and with a bit of Swedish massage. And it worked so well that I wanted to do something with it as a career. And I thought, well, I don't actually know what I'm doing at the moment. I'm just
Making it up.
making it up as I go along, making it, doing all the instinctive stuff. So I did a 2-year course in canine massage and set up my own business. So she is, look.
She's been learning off me.
Yeah, she's a proper fighter. Let me just see if I can turn her over because you don't want to see it back. Oh, there's a big gust. It's all right, it's okay.
She's like, Mom.
Mom, I don't like cameras, Mom. Stop. She doesn't like cameras. She is the worst dog to take photos of because she sees the infrared focus and she goes, oh, I don't like it.
You need to get Brigitte on with her.
Get some natural looks because at the moment
Yeah.
she's scared. Bless her.
Bless her.
So
Oh,
yeah,
she's
she
just
was the inspiration and she was my model. For 2 years I learned my craft on her, heavy-handed as I was. And I trained with some greyhounds and some excellent working dogs in the Midlands before I set up my business.
How did you go, like, how do you go from like the beginning of the course and all learning all of that stuff? You're learning all on the same dog, obviously, but then how do you get that out there to different dogs?
So the first year is all about the anatomy, psychology of the dog. So you don't really, in the first year of the course, have your hands on dogs anyway.
Right.
And then the second year is all about case studies. So going out there and finding dogs in the locality that you can treat, and face-to-face training sessions in the Midlands where the trainers bring dogs to you. So we went to a greyhound rescue centre near the NEC and treated some greyhounds there. And a lot of the clients from the instructors brought their dogs along for massage, and they get the free massage and we get the training.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So before I even set up my business, I've worked on quite a lot of different dogs, from greyhounds to Cavalier King Charles to pugs, a Leonberger. That was an interesting one to learn on. So yeah, lots of different types of dogs, all ages.
And how do you find it differs between the sizes of dogs?
The little ones are interesting because you have to use your little finger to do quite a lot of
Yeah.
work. The bigger ones are interesting because I'm quite small. I'm only 5 foot tall. So when you're working with a large greyhound, for example, they take up a lot more space. And so you are working quite a lot around them. You have to move quite a lot to get to different parts of their body because they are so much bigger than your arm reach. But generally, it's not, the size isn't so much of an issue. It's their temperament that makes the difference between the treatment. So as you can see, Eva's very chilled and relaxed, even though she's had a weekly massage and she's like, oh, okay, whatever. But some, like a lot of staffies, won't lie like this. So you have to do little bits here and there, let them relax, and sort of accommodate that, and then move back to them again. So it's not,
because I've seen a lot on your posts. You say that a lot of the dogs start off quite like hyped and they're doing everything, and then they kind of relax as you start to treat them.
Yeah, generally by the end of the first session, I'll have got them lying down. I will have treated them anyway, but you treat what you can reach and what the dog lets you do, because it's a trust process. You cannot treat a dog who doesn't trust you, and you can't force trust on a dog. So it's a slow process of getting to know them and them getting to trust you. I think this one wants to get off the table now. You want to go? Yeah. No, you just want to show your back again, don't you?
She's like, I don't want to look at the camera, Mum.
The camera's embarrassing. So yeah, it really does depend on each dog. So some dogs whose owners don't really touch them a lot, who've been independent quite a bit, are more tricky to treat than those that have been handled a lot and are used to being handled. So,
And do you think it makes a difference how much they get walked as well?
It can do. If they're over exercised, then they'll be sore.
Mm.
And they'll also be more likely to be hyper if they're over. If they're used to having a lot of exercise, then they become almost reliant on the exercise as a way of coping. So it can make them more agitated in the clinic because they don't know how to wind themselves down. They haven't learned how to be relaxed. So yeah, it's the wrong way round. I know you were thinking, oh, do lots of exercise with them and then they'll lie down and let you do it. Actually,
Not necessarily. I mean, it's the same as people, right?
Yeah. If you over exercise a dog, because you cannot outfit most dogs, so you can try and do that all your life, you won't win. You end up with a dog that is completely reliant on being out 2 hours a day, running their backsides off, and that in itself causes injury and problems. But it also doesn't teach them the life skills of calm, lying down, relaxed behaviours, because they're always on the go looking for that next fix.
Okay. So, do you think there's a time that, like, a time frame that people should walk their dogs for?
No, I think that really does depend on the dog. So this one, she's half greyhound. She's happy for 20 minutes twice a day. I've got a deerhound cross in my den over there who is only 5, and he feels that 20 minutes twice a day isn't enough. So it depends on the dog, but it also depends on the breed. So obviously collies will need more exercise than spaniels, but that don't take exercise to be just off lead running like an idiot. A lot of that could be teaching them new skills, going and finding things in the bushes, teaching them to use all of their senses, which in itself tires them out. So you don't have to get them running around like idiots. You can do other things.
And you've done some like agility as well with them, haven't you? Or is it with them or with other dogs?
Oh yeah, I've done some agility with her. She's rubbish at agility. She gets all excited because she sees the big open space in the A-frame. So she runs around like a lunatic, completely out of control, does the things she wants to do. And then because she's overexerted herself, she's then tired and won't do anything for the rest of the session. So 10 minutes is all she can really master with agility. And it's very much, if I'm not allowed to run around and have fun, mum, then I'm just going to be difficult. And I won't jump that, and I won't do the weaves, and I won't do that. She's not going to win any championships anytime.
Oh.
Now she's got 2 broken knees, so she's definitely not doing agility.
Definitely not.
No.
Bless her. So do you think there's a difference between walking them in the summer and the winter? Like, should one be more or less, do you think?
It depends on the ground conditions. So walking any time of year is fine, but if the ground is sticky and slippery, then there's an increased risk of injury. And if you exercise a dog when they get tired, just like with humans, they're more likely to fall. They're more likely to sick and cause injury. So, but equally, if it's really cold in the winter and the ground is frozen solid, then they've got to navigate quite difficult terrain with bare feet. So their wrists and their paws might hurt from that constant moving through the terrain. So if you imagine you're in Wellington boots and you're walking on hard, uneven terrain, how hard that is on your ankles. Similar really for dogs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So tougher terrain is going to be or slippery or uneven. It's going to maybe hurt their joints a bit.
Yeah, if they've got arthritis, you really should be avoiding those sorts of terrain when they are frozen solid, because you don't want the joints to be weight bearing in a weird angle, because that will just hurt. That
makes sense. Actually, complete sense. I mean, it's kind of the same as humans, right?
It is, exactly the same as humans. They have the same neurological issues. They have the same nervous system, the same muscles, although in slightly different places sometimes. They have the same injuries that humans have. The only difference, I guess, is that dogs tend to live in the now, so they don't tend to think about what it will be like after the walk until 20 minutes after the walk, and they can't move anymore.
Oh, Mom,
Human, you might be getting
I'm hurt.
yeah, you might be getting tired and thinking that's enough now. But with a dog, because everything's so exciting outside, often because that's the only interaction they get with the outside, they get overstimulated outside, don't realize how tired they are, and when they get in and lie down, that's when everything starts to stiffen up and get sore again.
Right. Yeah, and I guess they don't really go, oh, I'm starting to be in pain now. I'll stop. I'll slow down. They go, let's go, 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 go. I'm dead.
It depends on how stimulating it is outside. If your dog only gets to see the outside world and interact with things twice a day for 20 minutes at a time, they're going to be quite stimulated by that. And so it's going to override any logical response that you have. If they're out in the garden and doing other things with you on a regular basis, then the walks are not as much of a highlight for the day, and so you'll get a different response. So it really does depend on how important that walk is for that dog.
Right, yeah.
And how much pain they're in, because if they're in a lot of pain, they won't be able to mask it anyway. They're great at hiding it for a very long time, and then all of a sudden it comes to a head, and then you really notice it. What are you doing now?
She's like, oh, I regret my previous action. I now want to play.
Yeah, I think I prefer the cuddles, Mum, but not the talking, because you're weird when you talk. She's not used to me talking, you see.
She can't have it all her way. That's the problem.
She's 11. She can try.
Bless her.
So yeah, she's got arthritis in her back and in her knees. And just now she's jumped onto the sofa behind my husband, where her bed is currently, so that we've got floor space. So she's managed to get up onto quite a high space, and now she's chilling out on a really soft, squishy sort of the bed. There she is.
Oh.
And now she's like, stop pointing it, I've moved.
She's like, I deliberately moved away from the camera. Why are you making me still on it?
Well, no, Benji's still in his den. He's adopted the. We've got a den in the corner, which is just basically a fabric crate that he's decided is now his. Now he can get in that hole, believe it or not.
It's quite impressive.
Yeah, he has to push really hard. But now he's found out he can get in there. That's where he wants to be all the time.
It's like, I will fit.
And I will come out again because I'm optimistic. So everything works.
Bless. They're so, I just love them. So how would you say, what's like the first sign of pain?
Often people will notice pain because the dog is limping. That'll be their first signal. They'll be in pain before then. They might have slowed down. They might be double thinking getting on and off the sofas, for example. So they might look at the sofa, think about it, and then jump up. Yes, I know. Or they might, when they're going into the kitchen where you've got hard floors that they might slip on, they might be really reluctant to go onto those that flooring. They might be really slow on their walks, so instead of being at the front, they might start to sort of lag a little bit behind. All of that can signal that they're in pain. Often, if they're that old and they're doing that, yes, I know, they will. The vet will assume it's arthritis. It doesn't have to be arthritis, but the assumption is always if they're
right,
it will be arthritis.
But I'm guessing it's not always arthritis.
It's not always, no. Often it'll be a soft tissue injury, but the vet might not be familiar with soft tissue injuries, so they will assume it's arthritis. So this is Benj. He's 5.
Hi, Benji.
He's very woolly. And he's new.
It's like, it's time for me to get attention now.
I've had him 3 months, so he hasn't had as many massages as Eva. But he's going to be my new guy when I go and do training, because we do. I go back to the same people that trained me initially, and they train me once or twice a year, just to.
Okay, that's good. So like you get like an upgrade.
Yeah, kind of like an upgrade if you think of it as a computer game. Yeah, a power up. So he's going to be my new one, because Eva was getting a little bit it's an all-day thing, and it can be quite tough on a dog to be
Yeah.
on the table and manipulated for hours on end in a room full of other people doing the same. So she'll come with me, but she won't be on the table as much. I don't always
Keep her
walk on
upright.
the table, but these two guys actually don't mind being up here, so that's why we're
Okay. And is it a table like a human massage table, or is it a special dog one?
No, it's a human one. There's not enough canine massage therapists out there to have a dedicated one just for us, unfortunately. So my table is 6 foot long, and my dogs tend to be a maximum of 4.5 feet. So I end up with a lot of table that's not being used. And I have to get a wide table because my dogs tend to be square rather than oblong like humans. And
That makes sense.
I'm 5 foot, so you can imagine what it's like carrying a table when it's folded up. It's a bit tricky.
Yes, I know the feeling.
It's a little bit tricky.
When I did my massage qualification, it was in the winter, and this is humans, by the way, not dogs.
Yeah.
And I put a heated blanket on the table for people in the winter. Do you ever do that for dogs? Would they like it?
I do it for my older ones. I have got a heated clinic, so that's not usually an issue. For my older ones and my small ones, I will. I've got a little I've got a little portable one that I can just wrap over a certain part of the body. So, they don't tend to lie on them because dogs don't tend to like lying on things that get warmer. That doesn't feel right for them. But I do put it on. So say, for example, a dog might be coming to me with hip issues. I might get the owner to hold the blanket on the hip area.
Okay, like a heat pad kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'll treat the front whilst that's warming up, and then I'll go and work the back end whilst.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
Unfortunately, he's a boy, so he has to check that he's got his bits every so often.
Yeah, just check. Yeah. Just in case they disappeared.
This is what they do. You touch their back legs. The first thing they then do is just check that you haven't done anything with the important bits.
Just in case, I just need to be sure of this situation.
What was that?
Oh, Benji, it's going to be okay.
It is going to be okay. He's lovely. He's very new to this, and he doesn't like the camera any more than my other one. So I don't know how I managed to get 2 dogs that don't like being photographed. But
It's just not a priority, Mum.
no. So he's actually got a broken leg. So this leg here, the ulnar and the radius is snapped, and it's just a fused mass of horrible bone now. So he always walks with a bit of a limp because I think this leg is slightly shorter than the other one.
How did he break his leg?
I don't know. He came into rescue like that. But that's why I adopted him, because I just thought, he will need a lifetime of treatment just to keep him mobile and to manage all that compensation. Because if you're limping on one leg, everything else is going to start hurting because it's having to do more work. So I thought, well, I could give him a really good home. My other lurcher would love him. That didn't quite work out as planned. And so he's now mine. And he gets a regular treatment, don't you?
Does he get once a week as well?
He gets a little bit less because he's younger, and he doesn't have the arthritic issues that Eva does. But we work on this scarring quite a lot, so I do a little bit every other day or so just on this scarring to try and release the soft tissue, because I don't know how long it's been broken for, but all the soft tissue was gammed up around it to try and protect the injury site. So he had very little movement in his paws. They just didn't move as well because everything was stuck here. So we've been working on that. He's all right. He's a little sweetheart.
Bless him. So if somebody thought, oh, my dog might be in pain, but they couldn't get to you because it's lockdown or whatever, what should they do?
Okay, so there is an assessment tool on my website called the 5 Principles of Pain. So if you go onto my website, safehands.dog, there's some tabs, and one of them is canine massage, and in that it will talk about the different types of things I treat. One of them is pain, and in there's a link to a PDF file which you could download and use, which just details the things you should look for against daily activities, mobility, movement. It looks at things like mood. You can tick off what you're seeing, and then you can use that to talk to your vet. Having something to talk to your vet with really helps the vet out, because you're prepared for that consult with the vet, and you can give them a detailed information on what you're seeing and what your concerns are. I can assess over video link as well, so if you're concerned, I can have a look at the dog on the move and sitting around and talk people through what I'm seeing. It's not as good as a vet check, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
I can certainly recommend whether a vet visit would be a good move.
A good idea, yeah.
And hopefully I'll be able to treat from the 2nd or 3rd of December anyway, when we're out of lockdown.
Keep everything crossed.
Yeah, and it takes a while anyway, because a new client would have to take my consent form and get that signed off by the vet anyway. And I do have to do a phone consultation with people to just go through some of the activities of their life, so I get a feel for the dog before they come. Because I tried it the first day of lockdown and it was raining, and it's not ideal to be doing that with a client in the street in the rain. So I do that online now, either a phone call or a Zoom or whatever, and we go through activities that the dog does, how far they walk, what kind of bedding they've got, that sort of stuff. So I can get a feel for where areas might be that could be improved.
That's a lot of detail. It's really, really interesting that you go through all of that. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I see my role as in order to treat a dog, they have to trust me. That's the first point. So that takes time, and the owners have to trust what I'm doing. So that also takes time. And also, if I treat a dog and then they go home to the same environment and have the same conditions that caused the injury in the first place, the chances are we're not going to get much progress with them, or we'll make progress and then they'll re-injure themselves. So I always look at it as trying to instigate change in the dog's body so that they're better able to cope, and then also trying to influence the owner to make changes at home that will make lasting changes and maintain the improvements that we get from the treatment. And I can't help a dog that goes back home and spends the best part of the week in the house, and I only see 1 hour every 2 to 3 weeks. The damage to is going to be more than what
it's just like when people come to me and say, I want to lose weight, and I say, okay, how much time do you have to exercise? And they say, oh, I'll do 1 hour a week. And I say, well, that's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same. Consistency. You need it for everything.
Yeah. And some things in the home maybe have caused the injury in the first place. So if I don't ask the questions to find out what the life of the dog is like, I could be missing that. And it's something vets don't really do. They don't really explore that home environment. But I think if you don't try to understand what's happening at home, your opportunity for improvement are significantly reduced. And your injury rates and whether the dog comes back to you on a regular basis because they've re-injured themselves, or whether they then the owner goes, well, that didn't work, and goes to the next therapy on the list, which is often the case, that doesn't help either, because therapy, if it works, it will work. It doesn't work for every dog. Massage isn't the right thing for every dog, but where it is working, it needs to be consistent, but the changes need to happen at home for it to be maintained. And otherwise, you're just going to go to hydrotherapy next, or to physiotherapy, or to acupuncture, because you haven't addressed the underlying reason that the dog is in the condition they're in. And that's not my business. I don't like to see dogs coming back to me with recurring injuries. Dogs that come back to me because they've got lameness, because they've got arthritis, that's very different.
That's different. Yeah.
But when they're constantly injuring themselves on the same wooden floor, because the owners aren't addressing the actual underlying problem that the dog is slipping on the floor, I can only make the dog comfortable, then they go home and they do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
That upsets me. So
And apart from massage, what else is good for dogs? What else should we be doing for dogs other than just giving them loads of cuddles?
Well, there's a couple of things that owners can do. Humans are really rubbish at keeping their hands still. So if you noticed all the way through this call, I have been fluffing with Benji or Eva, and my hands haven't really stopped. That's really quite annoying for some dogs, especially if they have pain. So one of the things you can do is try to concentrate on having a static, stationary touch. It's just as reassuring for a dog to have the hand still as to have the hand moving, but you're not then aggravating any of the superficial nervous system that might be having an issue. So that's one thing you can do that will help bond with your dog. I do run canine conditioning classes, which if you think of Pilates for dogs, that's the sort of thing I do. I don't teach the dogs. I teach the owners, and the owners do it with their dogs. This is an important distinction because I cannot teach the dogs. So that helps. That teaches them about their own body, strengthens their core, and reduces injury. But you can, if you don't want to go on a course like that, you could look for things like just giving your dog new experiences all the time. They have a very limited worldview because they live in homes with humans, which isn't natural, and they don't necessarily go out a lot. So when they do go out, it can be really exciting. So spending more time with them on things in the house, teaching them new tricks. We're still trying to teach this one to sit. It's only been 2 months.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah, we're not getting very well with the sit, but then lurchers don't sit very well anyway. They're not really built for it. So,
what are you trying to say, Mum?
They lie down and they stand up, and that's pretty much their favourite positions. So entertain your dogs by teaching them new things. Use their natural instincts and natural skills. They are no specialists first and foremost. Very few dogs will use their eyesight as their first sense. These guys, my 2 guys are sight hounds, so they do use their eyesight a lot, but even now they'd much rather use their nose. So do things with them that strengthen that, because that's where you get them tired without doing the exercise. So I scatter feed their dinner. They're on kibble, and they have lots of treats, and I scatter feed them. The longer the grass, the better, because it takes them longer to find it. I did try scent work with them, but unless it's food, they won't find it. If it is food, they certainly won't give it back to me. So it didn't work very well. It really didn't work. I also slow feed them, so I feed them in kongs so that they have to work at getting food out from stuffed kongs and things. That just takes a little bit longer. If one of the highlights of your day is eating and it's gone in 15 seconds, it's a bit kind of dull, isn't it? So I do that. These guys are quite big as well, so I raise their water bowl and their food bowl so that they don't have to reach down to eat. Really important for arthritic dogs to get their food bowls and water bowls at a height that's comfortable for them to reach. They're not stretching their necks too much, and they're not putting too much stress on their backs. So lots of little things. There's a little article on my website on ball throwers. That's got some ideas and things you can do instead of throwing a ball constantly.
I've just got a question. What would you recommend for Jack Russell? Mine is 4, and he's calmed down a lot, but he often barks at strangers, and I can't calm him down. He also barks at any noise that he doesn't like.
If he's food focused, I would distract him and reward him when he's distracted. If he's not food focused, you've got a squeaky toy, maybe you could distract him and do that. But I'm not a behaviourist or a trainer. These are the things I would do if I had a dog like that. My dogs don't bark except in their sleep. So they're actually noisier when they're asleep than they are when they're awake. But having said that, this one is extremely interested in squirrels and cats. So whenever he sees one, I have to see it first. If I see it first, I let him see it and quickly distract him. Then I can reinforce that with lots of praise and treats. If he sees it first and lunges, then I can't reinforce that behaviour. So that's kind of an opportunity lost. But if I see it first, I can see where he's scanning, so I'll know when he's going to see it, and then I can be really exciting just as he catches sight of it, and then I'm more exciting than the cat.
Right. So it's
kind of
massive distraction.
Distraction and reward, but don't reward the behaviour you don't want. But yeah, if they're food focused, I would do that. This guy is really squeaky toy focused, so if I really need to get his attention, then a squeaky toy is the way forward. And I can usually get him off anything if I've got a squeaky toy. And that's a reward in itself, because then he gets to rag the toy.
Right. So it's kind of like toddlers.
It's kind of like
Toddlers. Squeaky toy, food.
Yeah,
That's all they need.
exactly. Think of them as 2-year-olds that will never grow up.
Yeah.
And because of that, they won't know when you tell them off unless you're telling them off at the exact moment they're doing something wrong. But telling them off isn't necessarily what you want to do. You want to reward what you want, so that they know.
So positive reinforcement rather than negative reinforcement.
Yeah, if you constantly tell them off, then they don't know what to do. And then you're not giving them the hint about what you do want them to do. So if you want a dog to do what you want them to do, then you have to tell them when they're doing it right. And that's lots of praise and lots of fuss and lots of food and lots of squeaky toys and just generally being really exciting to be around.
Yeah, I mean that shouldn't be difficult for any of us.
Well, it depends whether you've
Squeaky
had a
toy!
day at work or not.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, now everyone's working from home, everyone's more exciting than everything.
Yeah, and that's going to bring its own problems with separation anxiety and.
You had some really good tips for that.
I again am not a trainer or a behaviour.
No, I know, but you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I leave these guys, even though I don't have to. I leave them on a regular basis. I might lock them in when I'm going into the clinic. I might go out and just go to the shops. I might just go around the block without them, which seems weird, going for a walk without my dogs, but even just leaving them for 10 minutes, or I put the stair gate up and go upstairs so they can't come up with me. Those little tiny separations, nothing happens and they're not big, then these guys haven't built up that kind of paranoia that the whole world is going to cave in because I'm not around. But it takes a lot of dedication to do it, and you need to be really consistent to just keep giving them that space to be on their own.
And it's like so much easier to just take the dog with you.
It can be.
Or it cannot be.
It can be, but that doesn't solve your separation issues.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's so much easier to take them with you, but it doesn't solve the long term.
It feels weird going for a quick 5-minute walk without them, because why would you?
But
sometimes
but
I just make
it makes sense.
Because at the moment I'm in lockdown. I can't treat anyone, so I'm not leaving them very much. So I have to sort of create reasons to leave them, which aren't genuine, but they have to happen in order to keep them healthy. So yeah, I go for walks randomly.
Yeah, I mean it makes total sense. Let's just see. Sylvia, did that answer your question? Yours is, I didn't realise this is all gone there. Okay, yours is very food motivated. Excellent. Okay, that's good. I think we answered her question. I say we, I mean you. So is there anything else that you could recommend for dog owners while we're here?
Just be conscious that you only get one body, so that body has to be looked after. So don't build in damage. Consider your easy, clean, hard flooring, which isn't actually dog friendly, even though all the TV programs and makeover programs pretend that it is. It's like you it's like you walking on an icy pavement, basically. And if you've got an older dog like my 11-year-old, that's like putting your nan on an icy pavement. And why would you risk them walking on icy pavements all day, every day in their own homes? That's the number one thing. But also think about things like jumping in and out of cars. Jumping out of a car can be quite traumatic on the joints, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, for example. Depending on how high the car is and what they're landing on, often it will be concrete or man-made surfaces. That percussion shock through the joints doesn't stop at the shoulders, it runs through the back as well. So you could be building in arthritis into further reaches of the dog's body. So if you can lift them in and out of the car all the time, then I would always do that, because you are ensuring that you're doing everything you can to keep their joints healthy, because that is, as with humans, going to be by far and away the most likely thing that goes wrong with your dog as they age. I mean, there are other things, but joints is something that you can do something about.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I actually wanted to ask you as well about
just love and spend time with them. They're there.
Yeah.
You know, you're their only input. So spend time.
You're their world.
Yeah. Groom them. They love grooming, and if they don't love grooming, then that could be a sign that there's a problem.
That they might be in pain or something.
They might be in pain, or they might have had a bad experience even that's now linked to the grooming process, and so you have to look at why that is. Don't get angry with your dog if they show behaviors you don't like, because it's not their fault they're showing you those behaviors. It's the only way they can communicate, so you need to understand why they're behaving that way, and then look to things you can do to address that, to change that behavior, to reinforce what's good about being with you.
Like they don't understand that that's not the way you want them to behave, because they can't talk.
Well, and also, if it's the only way they can communicate, dogs can only communicate with their body and with their voice. But because we don't speak dog, we see that as problem behaviors, and it might be that they've got an issue that you need to address. And all behaviors should be considered in that context, that they're not doing it to be stubborn or to be frustrating for you or anything else. There's a reason for it, and you need to get to that reason before you can address the behavior, because if you don't know why they're doing it, you're not going to successfully address it. And some of it might be pain, so if you suspect pain, then massage might be an option to try and just see if that helps with the issues. Some of it might be fear, stress, but anything that they're expressing to you, there's a reason for it. They don't do it just because they want to be spiteful, or because they don't feel guilt, they don't feel shame, they don't feel any of those sorts of emotions. So if they're looking guilty, they're not looking guilty, they're just worried about how you're going to react, because they've just
like, oh god,
body language and thought, oops, something's wrong with mummy. That's not necessarily them feeling guilty.
They're just doing the
They might
I don't know what she's looking at. I'm just going to stand here until she does something.
Yeah, they've shredded your carpet, you come in, your body language bristles, they see your language and go, oh my god,
oh god, what's happened?
The human goes, you're feeling guilty, it must have been you. And no, they're not feeling guilty, they've just read your body language and thought, oops, mum's not in a good mood. So yeah,
that's really interesting actually, because I always thought dogs would be quite proud of their carpet shredding.
No, not really. No, unfortunately, they wouldn't be proud of it. They'd be doing it because they're stressed for some reason, whatever that reason is. It might be lack of stimulation. It might just be fear. But yeah, there'll be a reason for it.
Very interesting. Probably, yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of people wouldn't know that as well. I don't own a dog, so I'm safe.
Well, when you get one, we can go for dog walks.
Yeah, no, it will happen. It will happen
when you're still in Hampshire, because that's way too far away.
It is a bit far. But at some point, I will have a dog, and I will bring it for walks with you.
Good.
All right. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we end, and how people can contact you as well?
You can contact me via my website, which I've already said, safehands.dog. Or my
I'll tag that in the chat after as well.
Or my email, karen@safehands.dog. I love the .dog ending.
Same.
There's enough of us out here in the world. People keep trying to write .com, and no, I work with dogs. I don't work with comms. So that's just. If you have any concerns, you're worried about your dog, download that pain tool, see what it tells you, because you can then watch your dog in a very different way. And if you suspect anything, I'm happy to talk to you, happy to do a video conference if you're worried. But if you are worried, perhaps go and see your vet and get them to check first. I don't treat dogs that are in a lot of pain without them already being on pain medications, because it's just not fair when a dog's in pain for me to be playing around with
Manipulating them.
So they need to be under control. Oh, sorry, sweetheart.
Oh, Benji's tired.
Yeah, so their pain has to be under control before I can treat. But then we can start to look at winding down pain meds, if that's possible. Once we've got the cause of the pain under control. So yeah, it's been great talking
Awesome.
to you. It's been weird because I can't see what you're saying. I can't see you at all.
Oh, don't worry, it's fine. You look great. That's all you need to know.
Oh, thank you. Because this dog is very woolly.
You don't need central heating, you just need a dog.
Oh, massage is very warming. It is very warming, not just for the animal. I get very warm treating dogs because they are, yeah, it's like treating a really hot blanket.
It's just like a load of wool.
Yeah, he has got an undercoat of wool. Yeah. So this nice coarse hair at the top. There's not a lot of that, and then you get underneath, and it's all wool. It's like a sheep.
Oh.
So
Bless him.
Benji's doing all right. I think he's fallen on his feet.
I think he definitely has.
Yeah, you can see he's stressed. He's really stressed.
Oh yeah, super stressed. Yeah, I can tell.
Is there any questions for me?
I think we don't have any more. Right, if anyone watching has any more questions, type them in the chat box now. We just had that one from Sylvia, which I think we answered. But yeah, so I'll tag your website in the bottom, so people can contact you, have a look at your website. If they need to download that form, then they can.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure. It's lovely to have something to do in the evenings. It's not a lot to do right now, so it's
Something entertaining for the dog.
Yeah, that's my cameraman getting a little bit above himself there.
He's done a very good job.
He has.
He might need some dog treats later.
Well, he's certainly not going to get paid in any money. That's for sure. He'll have a lentil curry. That's his.
I think that's payment enough.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Okay. Well, that sounds like we've finished then.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and no doubt we will speak very soon.
Yes, I will be in touch. See you later.
Excellent. Bye, bitches. Bye.